Welcome to another edition of In the Pocket. All thanks to Palmerbet and Spider. Guess what? The Palmerbet t-shirt has made it all the way to Patong Beach in Phuket, big fella.
I tell you what, they'll be a big seller too. You better, you'll see them walking down everywhere. Patong Beach in Thailand, all thanks to Palmerbet. Doesn't get any better than that. They'll love the punt over there.
Mate, if I wear this down the street, they'll be selling them next week. They'll be lining the streets with the Palmerbet tops. But mate, what a cracking weekend of AFL! You had a back two of players back two at the St Kilda Football Club on the weekend. Mate, tell us all about it. They told me it was sensational.
Yeah, no, we had it was the AFL life members. So if you played over 300 games, or you've been associated with the AFL in different ways, but if you could drop a few names, and look, I've never been to one of their life members functions before, and I absolutely loved it. Like not only like the older school boys, but people from the media of Eddie Maguire and Mike Brady in there. You got David Parkin and Kevin Sheedy, and suddenly Mickey Martin from North Melbourne was there. So, and even all the old umpires, just to be able to have a beer with them, have a laugh, and we watched the Bulldogs versus the Tigers. So, yeah, look, it was a great night, and for all those other people who have been lucky enough to be in the AFL life members, they should come along because we sat in the real. One of the committee room of the MCG it was. So I'd even put on the suit and tie. I haven't pulled that out for a while, but it's definitely worth it.
Unbelievable, mate. And 300 games to get there, a huge achievement, to be honest. And there's not too many in that bracket, to be honest, Spide. So you are one of the very few, mate. And I think sometimes people forget how much of a legend of the sport you are, big fella. And you spoke about those Richmond Football Club. We'll start off with the ugly, mate. The Tigers are ugly, West Coast ugly, North Melbourne ugly, the bottom three teams. Who out of those bottom three teams has been the most
Oh, look, I think probably, for me, you probably still go with probably the most disappointing because we knew North Melbourne were going to struggle. We knew West Coast were going to struggle. So probably Richmond, to be honest.
Yeah.
But, the hardest thing with Richmond, I really do feel for Adam Uze, is just the injury toll. Just watching it on the weekend, another two players go down, one to concussion, one to a leg, and you sit there and go, how much more can this club take? So, I know Brendan Gale has decided to quit during the week, but not one more. He's got one more game. He might have to play this weekend, Brendan Gale. Strap on the jersey and put it on because they're running out of numbers. So, for me, probably the most disappointing would be Richmond, but if you take away the injuries, I'd say North Melbourne because you actually haven't seen any progression with North Melbourne.
We're going to get to the Kangaroos a little bit later because the Palmerbet boys, we asked, they have delivered here on In the Pocket, mate, which will be North Melbourne's first victory. Let's go to the bad. The Dockers, they failed in their first test against the heavyweight. Coming up against a really good team for mine in the Sydney Swans, Spide. And off the back of some really bad news off the field for that football club last week in Cam McCarthy's passing, I just think it was a bit of I'm prepared to give that a forget about week, if you know what I mean, last week for the Dockers.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's always hard. It's an emotional game. And, we saw them, before the game. They get the news during the week and it's a tough time. And, just putting on that black armband and, how much football means to so many people. And, unfortunately, we don't want to see this in any form of sport. So really tough time and tough to come out and try and produce against the best team in the competition. So I would be putting that aside. They've got a huge challenge this weekend. Both teams who they played this weekend, and I know we'll touch on it later on against the Saints. That's a huge one for both of them. But, put last week to bed. I wouldn't be too worried about that.
And they're good, mate. What a cracking game last Thursday night, Carlton and Melbourne. I must admit, I thought the Blues were going to absolutely smash them and flicked over and watched a little bit of NRL, big fella, and I flicked back and it was game on in that final quarter. And to be honest, the Demons were the ones coming home with a wet sail. It was a great game of footy. Port Adelaide took Geelong down at GMHBA Stadium. Kenny Hinkley's first victory over his beloved Cats down there, and wasn't he happy about it? And the Essendon Bombers, they made a statement against the Giants. So there's three really good and big goods from last weekend's round of footy.
Yeah, I love watching the Bombers, absolutely. You didn't know what to expect, and they continue. I think they've won the last 5. They just continue to show up and deliver, which is great and great for the Bombers fans. Same with Port Adelaide, as you mentioned, the biggest the biggest task in football, going down to Alphabet Stadium and getting a win, and they just jumped out of the blocks. I know that Geelong were coming back and they just held on, but they still did get 4 or 5 goals up in that first quarter. It was unbelievable kind of footy, and Rosie really Butters really stood out without Rosie there, and then. As you mentioned, Thursday night footy, it was just a cracker. It was always going to be, and you didn't know which way it was going to come. But, Petrarca, just for him to go forward and be able to turn a game that's superstars. Well, there's limited superstars in our game as it is, but he was an absolute superstar that night.
Let's have a look at our tips from last week, big fella. And, we both went 5 from 9, mate. You missed out on the Demons, Geelong, St Kilda and GWS. I missed out on the Cats, Fremantle, GWS, and Brisbane. 5 from 9's a pass coming off the back of that last round last weekend for mine, big fella.
Yeah, it was a really tough round. And when you start looking at the multis as well, like I missed out on my multi, but let's have a look. One of them was a tactical sub, and I want Palmerbet to start considering looking. Look, every one of mine had enough shots on goal. Like Jed Walton kicked 2-4. All I wanted to kick 2 goals. They're all having shots on goal. Can Palmerbet, we have 1 goal, 2 goal, 3 goal. What about shots on goal? No. That's legitimate.
Mate, they're not going to pay out insurance on that, big fella. I can assure you, mate. That is the thing with multis, big fella, and that's the risk that you've got to run, mate. It's as simple as that. Maybe they might chuck you a bonus penny.
They're missing out on an opportunity. If they had just shots on goal, right, that could be, it might be short, but you laid up a few of those. There's not too many multis I would have missed this year.
Actually, we're very close, big fella. And I must admit, actually, when you talk about that, I was stiff on Thursday night. Carlton 1-39. Cripps anytime goal scorer saluted. Harry Mackay 2+. He got 1. Charlie Curnow 3+. He got 2. So you talk about being stiff, mate. Very unlucky last week. Hey, and we touched on before, Spine, North Melbourne Football Club's next win. All right, the Palmerbet team, Kyle and the team have put together a list. And the shortest way home comes up in 3 weeks' time. They take on West Coast away at $3.50. They got Richmond in round 21 at $6. And then they play West Coast again back here in Melbourne at $7. But North Melbourne to not win a game this season is $7, Spide. I don't know about you, but I actually have just got that feeling, mate. Who are they going to beat at the moment?
I would have said at this stage, I don't think they can beat West Coast and West Coast. I just think maybe Richmond, but then you're still looking 10, 12 weeks away. So, they'll have a lot of players back. So you'd expect the Tigers to be up and running by then. So, I actually maybe West Coast back here around 24, is it?
Yeah.
That'd be the Harley Reid Cup, really, because it was round 24 that cost him Harley Reid last year, and will he drive the knife into him again in round 24 this year? So, if it was me, I reckon I'll be taking. I don't reckon they'll win a game this year, which is going to be sad. But at the moment, they just haven't got the cattle on the field. They will not win a game.
Yeah, $7. I'm with you, mate. Sadly, and I hate to say, because as I said, to be back to the old Fitzroy days. I reckon in the late 80s, early 90s, where a side's done that. So, we'll watch this space. What about this one, the Essendon Football Club spot? I reckon this is snuck under the radar, big fella. At the start of the year, they were $6 to win a final. It's been halved. So it's currently $3 to win a final. And if we think back, big fella, I'm pretty sure I had them in the top 8 at the start of the season.
Yeah, well, you can sit there and brag as much as you want, but I'm with you actually at the moment. You think about it, they've beaten the Giants, they've drew with the Pies, they beat the Crows, they beat the Bulldogs, they got smashed by Port Adelaide, and they beat the Saints and beaten by Sydney. But you know what? They are still competitive. They'll win a final this year. I'm with you. I reckon, they're the best performed team. They seem to have a lot more about them. They got a lot more defensive skills. They know when to go. They got a bit more edge. The Essendon edge that come in early in the season. They're able to produce that consistently. And, they're actually just playing with the will to win. They're actually playing with some form of desire. And we did question it last year. So, under Scott, they've been very, very good. And, I reckon, if they make the finals, which you'd think they would, they'll be absolutely cherry ripe to win one. A couple of little hiccups, but it looks like you've changed the resort there at Tong Beach.
Have a look at this, mate. I'm down in the foyer here, mate. Have a look at this. Graceland, big fella. Have a look at this for a setup. There's about 3 or
Oh,
4 pools here, Spide. You would absolutely love it. But we got better internet here, and that's the key, Spide. Now, listen, the other thing I want to talk about is this has snuck right under the radar for mine, for the Gold Coast Suns to go undefeated at home this season. Where's that come from? We haven't even spoken about this.
yeah, look, I think, and mind you, they're playing in Darwin at the moment, so they've got a couple of good wins there. But yeah, I think you get a little bit excited if they're going to win every game at home. They are using, People's First Stadium as an advantage. It is real advantage to them. I don't know what it is when people come to the Gold Coast, do they go in party mode, whatever it is. But if you look at the games they've got coming up at home, I think they're going to be in pretty good shape. They've got the Bombers at home, and we've just spoken about them. Then they've got Collingwood. Then they've got Port Adelaide. Then they've got the Brisbane Lions. So, yeah. And they've got Melbourne.
No chance.
No
chance, bud.
Nah. I've got a better chance of getting over there with you and us doing a couple of bombs off the side of the pool. So, no, I don't. You know what? For Palmer bet, the other bet is, will they win a game at home? Because they're playing the top 5 teams and the Brisbane Lions, or top 4 in Brisbane. So that's probably more the question. As much as I love the Suns, that's a tough run home.
And to be honest, on the flip side, $9, that's too short against those quality teams at home. Yeah. To be honest, I reckon you'd be wanting about 30 to 1. So come on, sharpen up the pencil.
They tried to pull the wool over our eyes, didn't they?
Absolutely, mate. Hey, listen, big fella, let's have a look at this weekend's round of matches. And I love those other markets too. Thank you to the team for putting those together. But Thursday night footy, now, Spot, they're talking about canning Thursday night footy. I reckon it is the biggest stuff up ever if they do it, because I love Thursday night footy. But we are playing at TIO Stadium in Darwin. It's Gold Coast taking on Geelong. Head-to-head, the market, all thanks to Palmer Bet. Gold Coast at $2.10. Geelong at $1.74 at the line. Gold Coast plus $4.5, $1.90. Geelong minus $4.5 at $1.90. TIO Stadium, Darwin, level playing field. Cats coming off the back of a loss. They would have been disappointed last week. What do you reckon, Spide?
Look, I actually like it. I actually think it's going to be a cracking game. And I know the Suns are 10th v 7th. Second. They do play well in Darwin. They kicked a big score last year, and it was pretty dewy. You saw how slippery and wet it was. Even last week, they kicked a really big score. So I think the Cats will have to run hard. We know the Suns are able to do that. I'm going with the Suns. I reckon it's my bet of the weekend. And, you have sometimes this so-called one game multi. Well, I might have just chucked that up. And it might be called something like see you in the NT. That's coming up a little later on. So I actually do like the Suns, because I think they've got a lot to offer up there. And last week we saw their 4 line operated well, and they had a lot of runs. So Geelong, it's a big week for them, coming off what they did last week all the way to Darwin.
I'm with you, mate. I actually really like the Suns this weekend. I reckon they pose a heap of value at $2.10 against the side that, I thought were a little bit disappointing against an undermanned Port Adelaide last week. Hey, Sydney taking on Carlton Friday night, 7:40 p.m. at the SCG. This is going to be an absolute belter. Head-to-head, the Swans $1.50. Carlton at $2.60 at the line. Sydney minus $12.5, $1.90. Carlton plus $12.5 at $1.90 Spide. This is going to be a wonderful game of footy for mine. Swans doing everything right at the moment, but, so are the Blue Baggers. They're up and about, aren't they?
They have. Their pressure's been fantastic. And the smaller ground of the SCG, we always talk about the 2 big forwards, but their pressure and their harness around the footy, Carlton, and even in close, they're going to have a really good battle against the Swans, and a tough one, because you never, ever back against the Swans away from home. I reckon the Baggers can do it this weekend. I haven't been on them a lot this year, but I've actually really liked the way they've gone about their footy. And you got to give them, at some stage, and they've lost, I think, 4 or 5 games under 10 points, something ridiculous. Like, you've got to give them the respect they deserve, even though they're going against the top of the tree. I'm going to stick with Carlton. I reckon the small ground. I've checked the conditions. There's no rain around. The big men don't get any smaller. So I'm going to stick with the Blue Baggers.
Yeah, I tell you what, I tossed and turned with this game, but I stuck with Sydney. I think they'll treat this as a little mini final coming up against a real quality team. They are on the back up from the trip, the longest road trip, of course, over to Fremantle last week, which might be a little concern. And it's a quick back up 2 Spide playing on Friday night. But Sydney to get the job done in a really close, tight affair either way. Hey, Collingwood v Adelaide, Saturday, 1:45 at the MCG. Head-to-head, Collingwood $1.32. Hit a bit of form over the last couple of weeks. Adelaide at $3.40. Had the line Collingwood minus $21.5, Adelaide plus $21.5. The Pies have still got a few out here, Spide. And I'll tell you what, Adelaide have been pretty good.
Yeah, Adelaide started to come back into it, and really it was through Dawson, through their midfield. I thought Keys was fantastic as well, but Foggy up forward. Collingwood haven't got much in their forward line, and they still kicked a big enough score last week. And when you look at Collingwood, they've still got the Dacos boys. So, but I reckon Keys can run with one of the Dacos boys, keep them a little bit quiet, and that will make a massive indent in the game. So, I'm actually going to stick with the Crows. I think Collingwood are going okay. A lot of people are going, oh, they're back.
Wow.
No, the Crows. And the Crows we all thought were destined to play finals this year. So I reckon the Crows have just got that sniff, that little bit of self-belief, and I reckon they can win it.
Geez, I tossed and turned with this game too. Collingwood too short for mine at $1.32, but I'm going to stick with the Pies, who I really think are just playing with that bit more confidence in that now, and I think they've just got that bit of match fitness and that match hardness again and that will to win spite. I know they've got some good players out, and I think when the whips are cracking come the end of the year, big fella, they're going to be mighty hard to beat again, the Pies.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're doing a lot of tossing and turning over there overseas. So
I know.
I'm just saying that I know that, look, Collingwood, they are going to be better at the back end of the season, but we're talking about this weekend, and I just reckon the Crows are in better nick right now.
Yep, right. I'm going against you there. I'm going with Collingwood. GWS Giants take on the Western Bulldogs Saturday, 4:35 at NG Stadium. Head-to-head, the Giants $1.35. Western Bulldogs at $3.20 at the line spot. GWS minus $19.5, $1.90. Western Bulldogs plus $19.5, $1.90. So the Giants coming off the back of a disappointing loss last week. Bulldogs smashed a really undermanned Tigers outfit. Does that give them some confidence here to come up against a good team and take a big scalp spot?
Look, you know what? I did circle the Giants. I've just been doing a bit of research, and they've got a couple out too. Like Ward's going to miss as well, and a couple.
Yeah, right.
So now I'm actually going the Dogs. I'm moving along, and I'm actually going to go for the Dogs. I was Giants up until probably 15, 20 minutes ago. But, when I watched the Dogs last weekend, and they were very impressive, And, they were an undermanned Richmond. But when you're undermanned and you're playing against them, that's what you got to be able to do. If they won by 15, 20 points, people are, you still get the win. But they absolutely smoked them. So I'm going to stick with the Dogs. Late change.
Jeez, mate, you are fair income. I can't wait. You've gone every roughie so far, Spide. I can't wait to hear your pick 9 this week because it is going to be absolutely massive. I'm sticking with the Orange Tsunami, mate, to bounce back. They need to, and I reckon Toby's going to have a big weekend this weekend. He'll bounce back as well, and the Giants will get the job done. Massive game, this one. St Kilda taking on Fremantle. Saturday, 7:30 at Marvel Stadium. Head-to-head, Saints $1.77. Fremantle $2.05 at the line. St Kilda minus $3.5, $1.90. Fremantle plus $3.5, $1.90. Spide, what is going on at your St Kilda Football Club, big fella?
Yeah, they just don't want to kick goals, do they? I just think this is going to be the one where, open the game's over, the season's over, open the floodgates and let them run. I reckon this is going to be a high-scoring game. I'll be taking them at whatever score over. I reckon it'll be a 200-game score, 200-point score, and they'll just kick goals. That's what they're going to do. They're just going to run and kick goals. Don't be defensive anymore. You need to win games. So I'm going to say.
So is that the issue? Like, is that the issue, Spy? Like, you just reckon they're playing? Because I touched on this a couple of weeks ago. It's like they pull the trigger. They pull out that big green card, and green obviously means go. Why don't they just go from the start?
Yeah, that's just what they do. Rossi Lyon's always been a little bit defensive, and you sit there and go, they've got enough power up forward. Let's use it. Let's just go. And when they do take it on, and you see sides in certain positions going, you know what, we've got 3 minutes, we've got to kick 2 goals. They turn it on, suddenly they do it. It's like, where was that in the first quarter? You wouldn't be in this position.
Yeah. So you reckon the Saints easy?
No, Fremantle. They're playing against Fremantle. Fremantle are a very, very good side. So I'm going to say,
don't try and suck up the Fremantle.
High-scoring game. The Saints by about 20 points, but they'll both kick about 100.
Don't suck up to the Dockers, mate. Your dash is well and truly done there, big fella. They got pictures of you in their change rooms there, big boy. I'm going with the Dockers, mate. I like the Dockers, and I just don't like what the Saints are doing at the moment. And they could turn around this weekend. Wouldn't surprise me. The Dockers adding a little bit of value. Brisbane v Richmond, Saturday 7:30 at the Gabba, mate. Head to head, the Lions $1.07. Richmond at 8.50 at the line. Brisbane minus 43.5 $1.90. Richmond plus 43.5 $1.90, mate. Lions comfortably here.
Yeah, you can't
get the job
done at home. But you really, Uze, I feel we mentioned that at the top. Really tough for the Tigers until they get a few back. So, yeah, Lions for me. Stick with them at home quite easily.
Yeah, Lions easily for me. They get their backs up. Essendon, North Melbourne, Sunday 1:10 at Marvel. Head to head, Essendon $1.06. North Melbourne at 9.25. At the line, Essendon minus 47.5 $1.90. North Melbourne plus 47.5 $1.90. Bombers get the job done in the marshmallow contest.
Yeah, how's that? We forget about all those, don't we? But yeah, for sure. When you see their mids running, their forwards operating beautifully, like North Melbourne got a little bit of work to do, and I think we've both backed them not to win a game for the rest of the year. So stick with the Bombers.
Yeah, Bombers to get the job done comfortably. Zach Merritt, I reckon he's having a season and a half too, the skipper. Hey, Port Adelaide v Hawthorn, Sunday 3:20 at the Adelaide Oval. Hawks coming off the back-to-back wins, head-to-head. Port Adelaide $1.16, Hawthorn $5.25. The line, Port Adelaide minus 31.5 $1.90, Hawthorn plus 31.5 $1.90. Power hard to beat at home, Spide.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the only thing that gives this away. Hawthorn have been very brave. They've been fantastic. And you just mentioned Zach Merritt and the Bombers. I reckon it's worth doing a Brownlow tracker next week because there's some really good odds around at the moment. But, yeah, for me, Port Adelaide at home, tough to beat. They're in good nick. They had come off a great win last week. They won't lose to the Hawks.
Horn, Francis and Butters are in sensational nick. When they get up and going, they are very, very hard to stop. West Coast v Melbourne, Sunday 6:20 at Optus Stadium, head-to-head. Weagles $4.80, Melbourne $1.18 at the line. West Coast plus 29.5 $1.90, Melbourne minus 29.5 $1.90. Any chance at all, West Coast, Spide?
Well, Melbourne, they're the top three, top four. Do you reckon Melbourne? The question here is, do you reckon Melbourne can win the premiership?
I think they can. Their best is good enough, but they just sometimes let themselves down. They rely on too few.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I reckon they can as well. So I don't reckon they'll lose over there to West Coast. Well, the pick 8, I'm just typing it in as we speak.
Come on, mate, get the value.
There's some value. Adelaide Crows and the Western Bulldogs.
Mate, fair dinkum. Your multi is going to be huge, but I went for Gold Coast to get the job done. I'm with you there. Sydney, Collingwood, Giants, Fremantle, Brisbane, Essendon, Port Adelaide and Melbourne, and that gets about $18.64 in my little pick 9 for the week. Spide, what about you?
Yeah, well, I'm going. I reckon the Gold Coast Suns into Carlton, Adelaide Crows, into the Western Bulldogs over GWS, St Kilda, Brisbane Lions, Essendon, Port Adelaide, and Melbourne. So you got all the favourites coming home. You just got to get to halfway through the weekend, and that will give me a total of $156.38.
Mate, first 4 roughies for you. That is going to be the key, big fella. What about your best bet of the weekend, Spide? What do you got for us, mate?
I'm going to go with the Gold Coast Suns, all right? See you in the NT, it's called. See you in the NT. I reckon the Gold Coast Suns.
Write that out.
Yeah, and there's 2 ways you take this. So I love my little 2-way bets. So the Suns to win outright and Ainsworth, Long, and Holman to kick a goal each. Okay? Just 3 singles.
What odds?
That will give you $7.90. Okay?
Oh, nice.
But then you add in Rao and Farini to get 20 plus each, and that will take it out to $16.94.
Beautiful, mate. 20 plus each is easily done in our modern game of football, big fella.
It's going to be a bit scrappy, and Rao will get 20 easy. Farini's the one that puts a little bit of value in there.
I love it, mate. Well, I'm going to go all the northern teams to get the job done. So Gold Coast to beat Geelong, Sydney to beat Carlton, Giants to beat the Bulldogs, and Brisbane to beat Richmond. Short multi.
That's great.
$4.64. $4.64, mate. All the northern teams to win. As simple as that. $4.64.
The pride of the northern states, the All-Stars.
Your hometown now too up there, big fella. Hey, listen, mate, download the Palmer Bet app. Get involved today. It is really, really simple, of course. And as we always say, gamble responsibly and always think about what you're really gambling with. Spide, this time next week, we'll catch up again from the heart of Graceland here in Phuket, Patong Beach.
What is the go-to drink over there and the go-to food
Chang.
just before? What is it?
Chang beer, mate. Not a bad drop either, the old Chang. Absolutely sensational, big fella. I can't wait to talk to you, mate. I'm going to go to a couple of sports bars here, big fella, and might knock the top off a couple of Changs and watch a bit of footy over the weekend. Spy, we'll talk next week, legend. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Another cracking round of footy. As we said, the first half of this round is absolutely huge. The second half, you'd expect all the favourites to get home. So if you're out there watching the footy, having a punt, enjoy it and do it with your mates because that's what it's all about.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.